These are the steps that I took to take my Done4You service business and make it a whole lot more scalable, and 4 steps that I recommend you take as well if you want a more consistent, reliable, and predictable business. Let's dive in. Now, I'm going to be breaking down 4 levels, if you will, evolutions, phases of how I took my expertise and my skill sets and my knowledge and moved them from level 1 to level 4, each of which made our business more scalable and less dependent upon me. Now, there's a couple founding principles that I want to cover before we dive into each of these 4 levels that I think all of you need to understand. The first one is you actually have to be very clear as to what you're trying to create for yourself before you decide how you're going to do it. So you kind of need to have at least a good enough idea as to what sort of business you're actually trying to create. As my mentor Brad says, what do you want to have happen here? Like at the end of you building your business, what do you want to have happen? Like the way you deliver your service, what do you want to have happen when your clients are done working with you? And knowing the outcome actually allows you to know if you've won or if you've lost. The interesting thing about entrepreneurship, at least that I've found, is that we as the owner, we sort of get to set the rules, which is amazing, but also challenging because unlike any other sport, if you go play tennis or basketball, you hop on the court and the lines are already there. The rules are already defined. In entrepreneurship, so many of us, and myself included, we jump in and we start creating, we start finding clients, etc. But like we never set the rules to the game. So we don't necessarily know the best way to play. And if you've played any sport ever, you understand that the rules sort of dictate the strategies that you should actually follow and not follow in order to get there. So again, understanding what you want to create and the rules of the game that you are going to play by will very much help you get to the goal that you're actually trying to achieve. Because the biggest observation that, again, I've had and I want you to walk away with is very few people are actually clear on what they're trying to create. Let me say it again. Very few people are clear on what they're actually trying to create, which means they jump around from strategy to strategy, hoping that something is going to work. And they're like, oh, well, this is actually not what I want. And so they keep pivoting and changing direction. So for me, I wanted a business that allowed me to divorce my time from my income so that I had the freedom to spend time with my family, raise my children, go mountain biking, be outdoors, work with creative people. Now, don't get this twisted and think that this means I didn't want to work. I work a lot and I love my work, but I get to work on what I want to work on with people that I want to work with, serving clients that I really love. And I want to do those things when I'm working, and then when I'm not working, be disconnected. So as I started my agency, I realized I don't have to do everything the same way that everybody else has done before me. So let's dive into the iPad here. Level 1. This is where you have likely you're doing different things for different people. Each client is different. And so what we need to do the first phase is actually select and specialize in the thing that we are going to create. And once we specialize, we actually can start to streamline things. But I want to take streamlining a bit further. Now, one thing that you need to know in level 1 is that you're likely doing this as a Done4You deliverable. The price is probably higher, and you're likely still doing this in some way, shape, or form one-on-one. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, level 2 is where if we specialized on this and we're going to move it over, well, in phase 2, this is where we need to get organized. We need to turn our process into a step-by-step situation. And so this is organized, and I'd say this is actually more streamlined and systemized. And so here, once we get to this stage, we're actually starting to move clients through a repeatable process. As we do this, we're going to still be charging premium, but our cost is actually going to go down, and so is the time that it takes to deliver this. Now, a key distinction here is going from level 1 to level 2 for most people can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. Now, level 3 is where I think things start to get more interesting, but as a byproduct of moving to level 2, focusing and streamlining, you're likely going to be able to 2 to 3x your revenue, serving more clients in less time because you have this repeatable process, which means your profit's going to go up. As you start specializing and focusing on the 1, 2, 3 type steps, who you need to get on your team to take things off your plate is going to become way more clear. In level 1, you need all these really expensive experts that probably have equal and or greater experience than you, and you still don't have the skill of management. And so you are maybe charging a lot, but you also are paying out a lot in order to actually get the people to do the work. When you've specialized into this kind of step-by-step process, the constraints and who you need to hire will become more clear. And instead of hiring the know-it-all expert generalist, you can actually hire people that are more specialized in solving specific problems of your process. So you might realize that you could hire someone for step 6, and that's going to take a lot of work off your plate, and they only need to know a certain level level of skills in order to do that piece. Now, level 3 is where we look at our process, our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we actually turn it more into a product. We put that into a box. And this is where we actually make the transition from one-on-one to a small group, moving towards that evolution of one to many. The distinction here is now that we've really started to productize our service, we are delivering the exact same process, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in order, but we're delivering it in a way that's more leveraged. We're probably starting to leverage video inside of our onboarding process. We're creating worksheets, SOPs. We can actually hand these things off to someone on our team and or even our client where they're going to be doing some of that work, thus it being small group. Now, the thing here is the delivery mechanism is way more done with you. And this is what opened up a lot of opportunity for us. And I can tell you that level 3 for us, after focusing on one part of our business here in level 1, level 3, we were in business at this stage for just about 2 years before we rolled this piece out. And we kind of had to go through the learnings of level 1 and level 2 to be able to actually productize and package this process so that we could hand it off to somebody else. Now, in level 3, this is where we are going done with you, and we're moving now more into small group delivery. This is really important distinction because in level 3, I found myself in a spot where we were at capacity. I couldn't serve any more clients in kind of that one-on-one format. I couldn't really serve any more clients even in level 2 with the team that we had. And I was at a stage where I didn't want to play the game of for every X clients, I wanted to hire more people. I wanted to keep a lean and mean and profitable team and have things that were more scalable that were, again, moving towards that disconnecting my time from my income. And so the adding of this done with you layer was very important to our decision. It may or may not be for you. I'm just sharing what's worked for me and a lot of our clients. But the interesting thing that happened with adding level 3 to our offering was that we raised the price of our agency services, and thus the minimum level of engagement went up. And so we ran into 2 new types of avatars that we could now help because we had a more leveraged done with you delivery model. The first avatar, or the first variation of the avatar, was the client who couldn't afford and wouldn't make sense for them to pay our rates to do the work on their behalf, to do the agency service, to do the one-on-one productized service. It didn't make sense. And so they said, hey, well, if you can show me how to do it, we have the time and bandwidth and we're willing to be the labor. And that was where the first opportunity presented itself. It's like, well, I don't have the capacity. What if I give you all of my SOPs, my templates, and I walk you through my process so that you can do it yourself? And I was able to charge for this done with you version. Instead of our high ticket, we kind of brought it down to a more affordable, $2 to $3 signs, right? So this became a more affordable option for all of the people that we normally wouldn't be able to serve because they couldn't afford us, but also the people that were willing to put in the work because they wanted the outcome. And because we were selling an outcome, the steps in our process resulted in a specific deliverable. They could buy into getting that outcome and they were doing the work following all of our guidance. So that was really powerful. The second avatar that kind of became available was the person that was further ahead. So not necessarily further ahead, but they were a larger company and they say maybe had, like, we built funnels. So they had a couple people on their marketing team that were tech savvy that they're like, well, we want the strategies. We want the stuff that you've put in a box because we don't have that knowledge, but we have the labor in-house. Again, we don't need your team to do the work. We just need the strategy in a box. And so it actually opened another tier of client that would have never hired us anyway because they had the people to do the work. So they're like, we just really want the strategy, but we didn't really have a way to give them the strategy. So now we had an opportunity to serve the clients that wanted it to be done for them, serve increased number of clients that could have never afforded us, but it didn't really take us a lot of time to fulfill because they were following our SOPs, and a third avatar that were the people that wouldn't have hired us to do the work because they had the labor in-house. And so it expanded our total addressable market inside of our existing niche, which allowed us to serve more clients, more people, make more money without necessarily having more clients. In another video, I talk about the alt agency has 10 clients, 100 members, and 1,000 customers. And the done with you model is really where you start adding the members. Now, I know some of them are actually technically going to be considered clients, but just for the distinction of you have clients, members, and customers, and they're all sort of getting different levels of access and service. Level 3 right here is where we started taking on some members. Now, level 4, we didn't launch this done with you layer until about 2 years after we had been delivering through level 1 and level 2. I think people try to jump to level 3 and the thing's really wonky. Now, level 4 is really where scale starts to happen. This is where you say, oh, we have this step-by-step process, and you know what? This one piece right here would be really valuable as a product. product or a workshop, or we have templates that we use inside of here. And so at level 4, you actually roll out more DIY products. And this is where you start going to the product route, maybe a course, and you're selling knowledge. This is where you actually start to scale a lot. This is where you see people charging 27 to a couple $100 on the front end of the marketing, and then they try to upsell you later. There's some sort of ascension happening here. But there's also a reality in today's world where there's people that will never buy your big thing, and they might actually need the little pieces of your expertise broken out. And what's amazing here is you can actually now go look at your core expertise, your core process, and unpack that into a suite of complementary products that you can sell that involve no fulfillment, truly disconnecting, all of your time to your fulfillment and to your income, so that you can now have multiple income streams. You have kind of the core service, you have this membership training, and you have products. And this was the process that we went through, moved through each of these levels. And most service providers, agencies, freelancers, etc., consultants that are stuck doing one-on-one have moved through these 4 levels in order to make their business more scalable. And again, for me, the outcome was divorcing my time from my income so that I had more free time to spend with my family and hobbies that I like mountain biking, and then spend more of the time actually mastering my craft. Now, some of you are watching and you're like, I love doing custom work. A key caveat here, and I have a whole nother video about productizing services, I'll link it up in the description, is that productizing your service doesn't mean there's no custom work. It means that there's boundaries on how the work is done. So when you have scope creep and scope seep, which is very common in agency and service world, eating into your margins, by productizing your service, you actually eliminate those things from happening. So there is still room for customizations and tailoring stuff to each client inside of a productized service. When you get to this route and you have multiple lower level products that don't require any sort of support or any sort of labor from you, that's truly where people are actually buying products. So these are the 4 steps that I move through. If you want to have a lean and mean team, high profit margins, less headache and overwhelm that comes from all of the hardship that typically comes with the traditional agency model, scaling through these 4 levels is going to very much help you. A key piece of all this is actually systemizing your new client onboarding. Key gap between when the client pays you and when you have a kickoff call. There's tons of room for maximizing profit and getting rid of all of the common headaches that come with client services. So I actually put together a video you can check out right here on how to onboard new clients.